Novell Filer. So first of all, just wanted to go through some of the highlights that have happened with Open Enterprise Server in the last year or so. In March, we made our business continuity clustering, which is a full, kind of top-of-the-line disaster recovery solution built on Novell Cluster Services that allows you to kind of have a cluster of clusters. So if your entire data center were to fail, you could have all those cluster resources be migrated to an off-site solution, and we've made that much more affordable, where you can just kind of buy it per node, and it's been a good thing, and we're getting a lot more interest and purchases of that solution since we made that move. So just want to make everybody aware of that if you're not aware already. And then you can see some of the other things that we've done with some of our certifications and third-party support, and just want to highlight recently in this first quarter, we've added Novell Kanaka for Mac. It's a Mac client that runs on your Apple desktops. We've had a lot of downloads of, that a lot of people are excited about. If you weren't aware of that, go check it out. Go to Novell Customer Center, and if you're on maintenance, you'll be able to download that for free as part of your maintenance value. And we also shipped an automated upgrade solution to OES 11, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then just recently, we made some Nagios monitoring plugins available, and you can see the URL there, and you can download those and try those out on your OES systems. So let's move into Open Enterprise Server 11, and I'm not going to spend too long on this because I think most people know about it, and want to spend most of the time on the future stuff. But you can just kind of see some of the benefits there, some of the lower cost items that you get with free virtualization, some new storage tools that we put in there with Novell Linux Volume Manager that help manage your data. You still get free virtualization with Zen, and of course you still get dynamic storage technology. So for those of you that are on NetWare, you'll be able to get that added benefit of being able to move your data from kind of have a merged view of data that's on a lower cost storage and higher cost storage, and be able to save in that way. And then, having the confidence that, OES is built on industry-leading, Linux platform, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 11, all the certifications that go with that. Some studies have shown that, Linux or SUSE Linux is the most reliable operating system, beating out Red Hat and Windows. So you can have confidence having your OES services built on that platform. And then we continue to innovate. You continue to not only get the innovations that come with the SUSE Linux platform, but with the new services that we provide with OES, and we'll talk about some of the things we're doing with file and print in the innovation area there. So just kind of a highlight here of Novell Open Enterprise Server. These are kind of the high-level categories, everything you get in the box. All those same services you got with NetWare, you get on with OES 11, but you get the new added benefits that we've, when we moved to Linux, you get now domain services for Windows, letting your OES server look like an Active Directory domain. You get all the multi-protocol support, and then with the added Kanaka client that we'll talk a little bit more about. And then, with NSS, some of the new storage management capabilities that we've also added with OES 11. So, all the good things that you've had, plus much more. This next one here, I'm going to go ahead and just skip through that. I think most of you are aware of some of the benefits there that come with SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 11, and of course you'll get those benefits with OES 11 as well. One item I wanted to call out with OES 11 is we've added this new Linux Volume Manager capability, and gives several benefits there. The ability to have great coexistence with NSS and the other file systems on Linux. So if if you want to have an ext3 partition, or now some of the things we'll talk about with Btrfs, you can easily put NSS on the same disk there. It works really well. It's very easy to set up. Unlike what we had in the past with OES2, especially if you run a single disk. The ability to manage storage growth. In the past we had this kind of 2 terabyte partition limitation, and if you had a disk that was greater than 2 terabytes, you couldn't really use it, or you couldn't use anything beyond the 2 terabytes. And if you wanted to, let's say have an 8 terabyte pool, you had to span that across, multiple disks, and that could kind of be a nightmare to manage. But we now support GPT with our Novell Linux Volume Manager, so your partitions can grow, basically as large as you want them, and NSS can now do 8 terabyte on a single segment with this new capability. In addition, we've made it easier to expand NSS into larger storage disks. So again, if you were in the past, if you had a large pool that was let's say you set up a 4 terabyte pool. Now you want to grow that to 8 terabytes. We've got some tools that will allow you to move that to larger disks and expand the pool at the same time. So that's a nice functionality, and we got some good feedback from people that have used it that really like that. Being able to simplify your storage, again, with some of the tools that we're providing. And the upgrades are still very easy to do. So if you're coming from NetWare, you're coming from OES2, you've got NSS volumes, you can easily just take your SAN and plug it into an OES 11 server, or in the case of OES2, you can just do an in-place upgrade. Everything remains intact. There's no moving of the data or converting it. It's just very, very simple and seamless. And then we've also added in our, many of you are familiar with our NSS-MU utility. You have the ability to not only create NSS volumes in there, but if you wanted to create a, let's say an ext3 partition or Btrfs, you can do it all through that interface. You can cluster enable it. So we've just made it very, very simple, and it's much simpler than going through some of the Solez utilities that might take 10 or 12 steps to enable things like that. All right. So moving on, just wanted to share some of the OES 11 release facts. We put a lot of extra quality and rigor, new test scenarios, more system testing, because we wanted to make this .0 release something that our customers could deploy, not something where you had to wait for an SP1. And so far OES 11 has been stable. Customers have been able to deploy it. With anything, they're having a couple issues that we will be patching later this month, but it's been a good release. We had some Lighthouse customers deploy it, and what these Lighthouse customers are, these are customers that basically deploy our OES 11 in production while it's still in beta, and they work closely with engineering to get any problems fixed as soon as possible, and that helps to increase the quality of the release as well. And we have one of those Lighthouse customers that I'll just talk about out of Germany. It's a large chemical company. They were able to put OES 11 through quite a bit of rigor in their environment, and they're now running several servers in production and continue to roll that out to 400 servers worldwide. Okay, this next one, just wanted to talk about being able to make upgrades more automated, more unattended, faster for you to deploy. And so in February, we released a way to do an automated upgrade from OES 2 to OES 11. And basically, it's running through some of the AutoYast code, if you're familiar with that. And basically what you do is, you have your installation server that has all of your, your OES 11 installation source on it. And, you run a script that will ask you for your eDirectory password. You fill that in. We encrypt that. And then basically you can then remotely, boot your servers, point them to that installation server with a couple parameters, and then they will automatically upgrade unattended, and it'll just make your upgrades go a lot faster and save time and money being able to do it that way. So this is the first time that we've ever offered an automated upgrade from a major release. In the past, we have ways to do that with a support pack, but we're pleased to be able to say you can do a major release upgrade in an automated fashion. And then just to talk a little bit about Novell Kanaka for Mac. This is something we also made available to all our customers just a couple months back. It's not an additional charge as long as you're on OES maintenance. It's a free download, and it's just part of the value that you get with your maintenance. What it allows you to do is to very simply set up your network shares for your Mac clients, and it's a client that does. You can do it in two different ways. You can have a single sign-on, so that when you sign into the Mac desktop, it will go out and get all your desktop settings and lay those down. It'll also map all your home directories and your group shares automatically. Or you can log in locally to the Mac first, and then launch the Kanaka desktop client, and then log in and get your storage resources. It also integrates with Apple mobile account, and so if you have users that are going offline, they want to still work with files, make changes, they can do that, and then when they sign back onto the network, it will synchronize those changes up to the server. And we also have, we're working on a future capability where this would also work with secure iPrint printers, so that when you log into Kanaka, not only do you get your file shares, but you also get your printing authenticated automatically. So that's all done very seamlessly. And if you want to get more information on that, I've put the URL out there. Just go to the tinyurl.com/OES-Kanaka, and there's a video there that will walk you through that into more detail. Okay, so I'll just pause. I don't know if there's any questions on the chat that we need to look at right now. Let me just, I don't see any so far.
Let me check really quick here, see if there's any. Let's see. Q&A. Okay, looks like we have had a few. First one that came through, with the Mac, we are having a problem with the new Mac OS X Lion and AFP compatibility. Is this being addressed?
OES 11 is supported with Lion, so if there is an issue there, then we can definitely look at that. But yeah, it is supported. So if there's a bug, specific bug there, we'll definitely look at fixing that.
Okay.
Or I shouldn't say look at it, we will fix it.
Wonderful. Let's see. The next one is, do we get back some of the console screens we were used to in NetWare?
Which I guess I might need to know more specifics on that. What I will say is, we do have many of the things on OES are the same, but some things are different, just because it is Linux versus NetWare, and so in some cases, you get more features and more capabilities that you didn't have before, but then in other cases, there's some things that aren't quite there. We have done our best to address, parity and get all the major things that were in NetWare that were lacking in the Linux version, up to par. But I don't think we'll ever get, 100%, the same. But again, you are getting a lot of other new benefits as well.
Okay, and then as a follow-up to that, it was just particular the GW agent screens, GroupWise agent screens, was the particular screens that they were looking for.
Okay, so that's maybe a GroupWise monitoring or something.
Yeah.
I'd have to check in that with the GroupWise guys on that if that's a GroupWise specific. Okay. Yeah.
Perfect.
And then Simon also mentioned that there's with the Kanaka client, as they roll out a Zen agent, which I understand is coming in a future version, we'll look at, getting Kanaka and the single sign-on part done with ZenWorks as well.
Perfect.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and dive back into the show here.
Perfect.
So OES 11 Support Pack 1, the engineering team is currently working on that, and first of all, one thing that customers have requested for quite a long time is that we be able to have like a single installation DVD, so that you're not having to swap DVDs and things like that. We know that there are ways to set up an installation source on a remote server, and that works well, and that's definitely recommended if you're doing a lot of servers, but we know in some cases people still just use the physical media. So one thing we'll be doing is having kind of an integrated install. We're still going to be an add-on product to Solez, and that's important because that allows us to work with all the certifications that are done with Solez, and we don't break those. But we're going to make it so that you can pop in a single DVD, and we're going to automatically add on, the OES product for you, and so that you don't have to, fiddle with swapping DVDs or anything like that. So that'll be coming. It will be based on Solez 11 SP2. So we will have that. I know a lot of people would say, oh, why can't we get support for Solez 11 SP2 sooner? And, originally we were hoping that it wouldn't be that big of an upgrade, but, Solez 11 SP2 has a new, kernel 3.0 and actually had quite a few changes, and we actually found, issues with, partitions not mounting and things like that. So we will have that support, but it will come in this, OES 11 Support Pack 1. We're also adding, the new cryptography features with NICI 277 and eDirectory 887 support. And, in eDirectory 887, they're adding some new things that will help, with improved performance and scalability. They're adding quite a few different, debugging tools to be able to make, troubleshooting easier in a number of different ways. And then they will also have a DS repair for Linux that will ship as part of that. And I know that's something that a lot of people have been waiting for. Going back to the question, someone asked earlier about some of those, different tools, and this is one tool that has been missing, and we'll have that with OES 11 SP1. So it'll make it easier, so you don't have to, do everything by command line. Another thing is we'll be adding FTP remote home directory support. And, first of all, I'll say there is a way to work with home directories that are on a different server than the server you're logging into today, but it requires you to kind of, manually, change directory, to that server. This will make that more seamless, where when I log into FTP, no matter what server I'm hitting, it will automatically map me into my home directory based on the eDirectory home directory attribute. And we're also, working on some things there that we can try to, increase the scalability as well. Let's see. Okay, moving on to this next slide. We're also adding, additional virtualization interoperability. So today we support, most of the major players: VMware, Xen, Citrix Xen. Those are the ones that most of our customers use. But we will also be adding, official support for Microsoft Hyper-V and KVM in Support Pack 1. In addition, we are adding some things to make LUM, Linux User Management, simpler to use with some enhanced workflows and the ability to be able to just select a container and say, hey, I want to, everybody in this container to be able to be LUM enabled, whereas today you can only do that per group. And then, with AFP, we'll add some capabilities there to make that on par with CIFS as far as the subtree capability, so that if I put in my configuration file that, I want everyone in this top level O and all the subdirectories, beneath it to be automatically enabled for AFP, that will be done. So you won't have to put in, individual contexts. And then, one of my favorite things that's coming in Support Pack 1 is the support for the Btrfs file system. And, one of the coolest things as part of that is the ability to give you this this file level snapshotting capability and the integration of that with the way that you patch. So it will integrate. They have this snapper tool that will allow you to revert changes to files, and it integrates with YAST and Zipper. And so basically what that gives you the ability to do is if I go out and, let's say I take a bi-monthly maintenance update and I patch my system, it would, have some mechanisms in place to automatically take a snapshot before you patch. And then once you're done patching, if you were to find any issues, you could automatically, with a couple clicks of the button, roll those changes back, and it would be, roll you back to as if you had not applied that patch. So it really gives you, some additional, safety in knowing that, hey, if I do have a problem for whatever reason when I apply this patch, I can very easily and quickly roll that back. And there will also be the ability, there's a tool to actually convert your base file system to Btrfs. So if you're currently running on, let's say, ext3, you could convert that to Btrfs if that's where you wanted to go. And then in addition, we'll give the ability to support that with, you could put an NCP volume on that and cluster it. What we are looking to see is, this is being supported for the first time with SLES 11 SP2, and so what we will want to find out is, over the 6 months that'll have been out before we ship OES 11 SP1, have customers had a good experience putting user data on that? And so we want to be careful on if we're going to actually recommend you to have the option of putting user data on that, as far as this first release goes. But we will, have it all working by OES 11 SP1. Let me just look at the chat window here and see if there's any other questions here before we move on. Okay, so the question is, is OES 11 compatible with SLES 11 SP2? And the answer is no, it is not. It will not be compatible until we ship OES 11 Support Pack 1. So that will be part of the Support Pack 1 release. And so right now, if you're running OES 11, you should not take the SLES 11 SP2 updates. And in fact, we've put some mechanisms in place that should show conflicts and warnings, and all sorts of things should pop up telling you not to do that. Okay. So let's talk about something else we're calling OES 11 feature updates. And what this is we, in the past we've sort of only shipped new features when a support pack came out. And, depending on the timing for that, that could be anywhere from, 12 to 18 months. And, that could kind of be a long time to be waiting for new features. And so what we wanted to do is give the ability for our customers to get more value, get new features faster, and actually be able to deliver those in between support pack updates. And so one thing that we will be doing is, you've already seen some proof of that this year. We've delivered the Novell Kanaka for Mac, so that was something that we did in between a support pack. We also delivered the OES 11 automated upgrade, and we have some other things that are coming down the line here that we'll talk about in a minute. So some of these things, in the case of the Kanaka for Mac, that's just kind of a client, and it was, delivered through a download. Other things will be delivered through a new channel, which we'll call the feature channel, and that would give you the ability to, if you wanted to get these new features faster, you could subscribe to that new feature channel and then be able to get those new features implemented into your system. And so it would be an optional subscription because, from talking with a lot of different customers, we know there's some customers that, they're very particular about when they introduce anything new, and they maybe only want to just get the maintenance updates. They don't want to get the new features until a support pack comes out and until they're ready to roll that out. And so if you're that type of customer, you can continue to, go on how you're going today. But if you're the type of customer that wants to get some of these new features faster, you could subscribe to that channel and be able to get those updates. And, as far as support goes, we would still support, the regular maintenance channel, how it is today, and then we would also support that new feature channel as well. But in order for us to do that, it's kind of an all or nothing type proposition. You can't go and, take, a couple things out of the feature channel and then say, well, I don't want the other stuff. You can imagine us trying to support all these, hundreds of different combinations, and that would not give us very good quality. So you could either stay on the maintenance channel, or you could take the feature channel and then get all those updates. And then if you did, let's say, take a new version of iPrint, maybe that had some mobile iPrint capabilities, if any bugs were found on that, then we would put patches out in that feature channel that would fix those bugs. So, and then when we did deliver the next support pack, you would get all those new features that were in that feature channel would also be rolled up into the support pack. But in addition to that, we would also have some other new features as well, such as things that, like with the file system, for example. Those are things that take longer to bake, longer to cook, longer to develop, and so you typically wouldn't see like an NSS update coming in the feature channel, but you'd see those new features come out in a support pack. And so hopefully, that's good news to everybody. So now I just want to turn a few minutes over to Ted, and he'll take us through a couple of these iPrint slides.
All right, hello. I just want to talk about some of the different print things that we need to be aware of. So in yesterday's print environment, basically, you had a couple of different decisions to make. How do I get my, desktop printing up and running on Mac, Linux, and Windows? You've got your management infrastructure there in place, and you really had two different, identity stores to worry about. How do I have my users work from Active Directory and eDirectory? And pretty much the IT staff, provided all the devices, and the clients, and they were a part of that decision-making process for what was going to be supported in your organization. Moving over to today, a lot of things have changed, actually. Not only do you have to worry about desktops, but, you've got mobile devices now, and those mobile devices aren't typically something that your administrators choose or your IT staff choose for your end users. So they're now bringing their own devices. You've also got virtualization that you need to worry about. How do I save some costs? How do I, share this load on good hardware and cut back on my expenses? Also, with these new mobile devices comes some new identity stores. So you've got Google identities, you've got Apple identities. How do those integrate? How do they all work together? Those are some big challenges that have got to be figured out. And also, these mobile devices bring with them the capability of detecting what your location is. So that can be very interesting for print. When you're at home, you may have a different set of printers that you want to look at. When you're in the office, it could be different. And also, while you're traveling, you could have some different things there as well. One other thing that isn't really on this slide is people are also looking at other cost-cutting measures where they can kind of train the end users on how to, save some money, how to cut back on printing costs, how to find printers that may be more cost-conscious, that kind of stuff. So we do have some partners that we work with there, PaperCut being one of our favorite ones to work with. We also work with pCounter and Nuance, which was formerly Equitrax. So those solutions bring in some very good things for doing accounting and tracking of printing and reporting and training your users how to save some print costs. So moving on to the next slide here. So we've to help work with some of these new challenges that are out there, we've actually got 2 new things that are underway, which I think will really do some good stuff for our end users and also for our IT staff. Number one being the mobile printing capabilities that we're doing. So as people have walked in with these new, tablets or phones or even your desktop, we are now providing the capability for email-based printing. So anything that can send email, like if you've got a toaster that can send email, we'll be able to print that email. And that also includes the attachments that go with it. So if you have a Microsoft Office document, a PDF, or even the text or HTML that's in that message, we will render that job and print it out to your iPrint printers. So this is integrated with iPrint, and it's an additional thing, an additional capability that we're adding. The beauty of this is you don't have to install drivers on any of your devices. So even your desktop, if someone wanted to print and they didn't want to install a printer and driver, they could just send an email to the email address, and it'll get rendered and printed. We are working on some apps that will go on your devices. So we have some Apple and Android apps that are in development, and we'll show you a little more here in a second on that. And this is really touted as a desktop to phone solution for printing. So it's pretty exciting. From the administrative perspective, we're working on a new iPrint appliance, and what that really means is we're going to take the OES 11 SP1 deliverable, and we're going to rebundle that into an appliance. And what that appliance means is we're going to simplify the install so you don't have to really know much about OES or Solez or any of those things. We're going to have a wizard-style interface where you put in your user password, you put in your network credentials, and a couple of other configuration items, and we will complete the install for you. So very simple, very easy. We are going to mask a lot of the Linux complexities. In fact, you probably won't even know that Linux is running underneath of this. If you're running on NetWare, this won't require a lot of training. You'll still use iManager like you've done on NetWare, and this will be fairly seamless. So you won't need a lot of training to run this new appliance. And it will run on VMware, and it'll be a soft appliance, so you can use it however you like in that VMware infrastructure. So.
Okay. All right, let me just see if there's any any questions on the print stuff. We'll see one question about when OES 11 SP1 will come out, and we'll cover that here in a few minutes. Okay. So just quickly, some other things around management that we're doing this year. You're going to get DS Repair for Linux coming out with OES 11 SP1. We may even have a standalone of that that you could download possibly before that. The OES Nagios monitoring plugins, as I mentioned at the beginning, we've actually put those out on Cool Solutions as a tool, so you can actually start. They're available to the public today, that you can run those against your OES servers, and feel free to give us any feedback there. Kind of our goal is that in the future these may actually appear just right as part of the install with OES 11, but that's more of a future thing. But the plugins themselves and the instructions on how to get that working are available on Cool Solutions today. And then the simplified Linux user management that we talked about earlier. So let me move on. Another thing that is coming, probably looking at kind of into first half of 2013, is an OES AutoYAS tool, which would give you the ability to, if you guys are familiar with the NetWare response file generator that we had back in the NetWare days, it could be something similar to that, where you basically can go through the screens telling this tool what you want the server to be, and then it would spit out a file, and then you could automatically have an unintended install with that. You could also clone servers, so you could have one server that you created and said, hey, I want the server to be exactly like this except for X, Y, and Z. Plug that into the tool, change those few things, and then it would again give you a profile that you could then install the server unattended. So that can definitely save on deployment costs there. And then as we look at domain services for Windows, we're doing some things there. This, of course, allows your OES server to look like an Active Directory domain, and there's cases where you have applications that need Kerberos authentication, and you don't want to go buy an AD server for that. You can use your existing OES server for that. Some people are using it with VDI implementations like VMware View. They don't want to buy Active Directory licenses, and they just use domain services for Windows to use as the Active Directory authentication mechanism. And a few things that we're looking at there is giving you the ability to have that fully supported with the NCP client. So if you still want to use the NCP client to map your file shares and then have it also authenticate to domain services for Windows, we'll officially support that, although that can really be done today. We'll have this sites and services capability, which would give you the ability that if you have multiple domain services for Windows implementations, it would be able to locate the one that's closest to you, and can alleviate going over WAN links and that type of thing. And then another one is bi-directional trust capability. And today you can do this. You can set up your OES server as an Active Directory domain. You can trust a live Active Directory domain, and then you can have those OES users access file shares and print capabilities from the Active Directory domain. But it doesn't work going the other way, where maybe I've got some people on the Microsoft side that want to access an NSS file share. That's the piece that we're working on, that we should have out in the first half of next year. Okay, so just as an overview, you can see kind of the roadmap over the rest of this year and into the first half of next year. The different things that we've discussed today. and I'm just going to move forward past that and spend a few minutes on Novell Filer. So I think most of you have probably heard about Novell Filer. Maybe you're at BrainShare or seen it on another presentation. So I'll just quickly go through some of these. But first of all, you have a lot of different file sharing options today. Box.net, Dropbox. These are things that a lot of users are using, and it kind of goes back to what Ted was talking about, where these things are so simple now that the user kind of controls them, and the user wants to, put his files where he can access them easily and maybe gets, some free storage, and so he uses Dropbox. But that, of course, presents the challenge of IT and wanting to be able to, make sure that sensitive data isn't, outside the enterprise. And then on the other hand, you kind of have the normal map drive experience that you get today with OES or Windows, and it's cool, but it lacks maybe some of the capabilities that you get with some of these new file sharing sites like Dropbox. And then on the other hand, you also have some of these web portals where you can collaborate and stick files in. But then again, you're putting files in another location, and sometimes it's hard to manage. You've got files on your file server, you've got files on your desktop, you got files in some portal, and how do I make sense of all of that? So really what we're trying to do with Novell Filer is we're trying to give you the best of all these worlds, right? We, the biggest reason that I hear that people want to use Filer is because they do have these rogue Dropbox users, and data, sensitive data is getting out there, and IT needs to have control over that, but they need to be able to give some kind of alternative. If they just tell users you can't use Dropbox, that may not go over very well. And so what Filer does is it makes users to be able to use their existing file storage, but gives them the capabilities of file synchronization, being able to access these files on mobile devices, on on the regular clients, on whether it be iPads or iPhones or Android devices, but also gives them kind of some new experience in how they work with those files, being able to give comments, being able to also give enterprise level policies and administrative controls. So one of the things that Dropbox allows you to do is you can share these files, with anyone, and Filer would give the admin control on how they want files to be shared externally. So if you want to be able to share something with somebody that's outside the organization, and put some policy that they can, the file can only be viewed for 24 hours, that user has to authenticate, and have a token, along with that authentication, you can be able to set that up and kind of, put some controls around how, those files are shared. And again, the beauty of it is, not only it allows me to sync with my files, to be able to work with mobile devices, but I can leverage those existing file stores that I already have set up, that are already, backed up, that are already compliant, those type of things. So just at a 20,000-foot view, you can see there, at the bottom, you're able to use all the different kinds of devices to be able to access your files, be able to comment, be able to share. And then Filer kind of sits there in the middle as this simple appliance that you deploy. And then on the back end, you can have your data sitting on OES, NetWare, Windows, a NAS device, and be able to have allow users to get access to file shares on one of those or all of those. So you can kind of think of having this you might have a finance department sitting on an OES server. You might have marketing sitting on a Windows server. If you have cases like that, Filer can easily handle all those situations. And just to show kind of the platform and system specifics. Again, we talked about the existing file storage systems that it will work with. You can see the end user devices that we'll support with the first version. The appliance itself will be running on VMware, so it'll be very, very simple to install and sort of made nicely for that platform. And the directory compatibility will work with eDirectory or Active Directory. So no schema extensions required. And if you're a business that has both Active Directory and eDirectory in the environment, this makes it very easy to work seamlessly with both environments. And it allows us to be able to sell this new service outside our base as well, and be able to go to the broader market. Just a screenshot here. What we're saying with Filer is this is kind of the the next generation map drive. So you no longer have FHG drives showing up. You just have these what we call file spaces that would show up based on your rights. You may have a finance, you may have a marketing. You'd also have My Files, which is kind of your home directory. So the admin would set that up on where that home directory share would be. And then you also have something called Shared with Me that has a list of any files that others have shared with you. And basically it's just a file link, and so you're not duplicating files all over the place. And when you click on it, it then gives you access to that file, and all the rights are in place in order for you to do that. And this next screenshot, again, shows some other capabilities. You can right-click on a file and see what the comments are. You can see when it was synchronized. You can see the release time. Again, you can set up these policies. So if you want a file shared for 24 hours or 1 week, you'd be able to set up those type of controls on the files. So just again, in a nutshell, to talk about what Filer is, it's access your files from anywhere, any device. Gives you a unified view of all your files, all your shared files, your personal files, your files that others have shared with you, and it gives you valuable features of synchronization, search, and not only search on the your one server, but it would actually search across any of those servers that you have file rights to. So again, if you've got files that are on different servers, it would be able to give you those appropriate search results. Gives you the ability to share both internally and externally, and IT can set up the controls on whether it can or cannot be shared externally, and then the user can also put time frames on how long that's being shared, and also gives you the ability to comment on files and gives you file notifications when somebody has commented or modified a file. And the great thing is it's deployed and controlled by customers themselves, and leverages those current investments in your file stores. Okay, so we're about out of time here, but just wanted to, and if you have any questions on Filer, feel free to throw those in the chat window. Here's the overview of the roadmap. You've got some of those feature updates that we talked about that came out. We've provided the Novell Kanaka for Mac, the OES 11 automated upgrade. We've made the Nagios plugins available. OES 11 SP1 is scheduled to kind of come out late summer, so I can kind of give you a time frame there. We are close to starting the beta on that, and many of you that have already participated in past betas should have got an email on that, I believe. If there's anybody on this call that is interested in the OES 11 SP1 beta and you did not get notified, feel free to send me an email, gldavis@novell.com, and we can see if we can get you into the beta. And then, as you can kind of see there, kind of the plan is OES 11 SP2 is kind of out there, in middle of 2013 sometime, and then in between there is when we would deliver some of those feature updates. The goal is for the print capabilities that we talked about with the mobility and iPrint appliance. We haven't locked on a date yet for that, but our goal is to get those out before the end of the year. And then, some of those other feature updates, such as, the domain services for Windows updates and some other things that we'll be doing would come out, in the first half of 2013 timeframe. And then, you can kind of see down there below, we do have plans for an OES 12. What you see there is Wasatch, be kind of lined up a little bit after the Solez 12 SP1 release. So that's kind of out there in the future ways. And then at the bottom, you can see Filer there. We'll be doing there'll be a tech preview of Filer out in July, a beta in September, and then the plan is to get Filer out in the latter part of the year for version 1, and then to continue to do updates to that about every 6 months or so. So anyway, let me just check the chat window and see if there's any other questions here. So one question is, will the new iPrint come out with OES 2? So the new iPrint capabilities, well, the appliance will be based on OES 11 SP1, and then the mobility is planned to be...
So mobility will actually work. You'll be able to plug that in and make that work against NetWare servers even. So it's meant to be able to bring your emails in, but you can also send that out via LPR. So with LPR capabilities and the IPP capabilities that we have in it, we'll be able to submit jobs to existing network servers, OES servers. That'd be 2 and 11, and you can even submit jobs to Windows. So there's a lot of flexibility there, and we're also looking at doing it straight to printers via raw port 9100 capabilities.
Right, but the actual code delivery will be on OES 11 SP1, right, platform. So anyway, that's the plan. We'll see if it goes beyond that. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on the roadmap or any of the other things we discussed today?
Looks like there was a couple. There was one about will there be a Windows XP client for Filer?
So the latest I've heard is that there will be the plan for Windows XP would be that you could use a web interface that we'll have, and it would also support WebDAV, but there would not actually be a a normal client like we'll have on Windows 7. So it would be more of using the web interface for Windows XP.
Okay, and then is there Filer and Vibe interoperability on the roadmap?
Yeah, we are looking at, in the future, seeing how that we can, interoperate these two more, combine things, and yeah, so that's definitely being looked at.
Okay, and then looks like the last one is how will the beta for Filer be distributed?
I don't know all the details on the beta on that. I do know that we do have a list of names that people that are interested in the beta, And so if you are interested in being part of that beta, please send me your contact info, and we can, get you on the list for that.
Okay, perfect. And that looks like, let's see. Oh, here we go. One more is Novell working on a Windows 8 client for Filer?
So right now, this first release, it's just Windows 7, but Windows 8 will be supported. It just won't be supported on the first release.
Okay, perfect. All right, that looks like all the time we have for questions.